Greetings, this is Brandon, the freight broker with Alliance Logistics, and today we're going to be talking about load board, the three basic functions of load boards and how we use load boards as freight brokers and freight agents. Now, we have two different types of load boards that we're going to be discussing today. One is DAT and the other is Internet Truck Stop. These are the two largest load boards in our industry, so that's why we focus on these two load boards. There are a number of load boards out there. You can of course use whatever load board that you think is best for you. I like DAT and Truck Stop. Okay, with that said, we're going to go into Truck Stop and explore it and find out how we use it. Okay, if you can see here, there's home, searching, posting, decision tools, my products, and other services across the top here. And what we're going to be doing right now is posting loads, searching for trucks, and we're also going to talk about establishing rate. Now, what happens is we have a shipper, and that shipper has given us a load to bid on. So what we have to do now is come up with a rate to that shipper so that we can possibly earn the right to move that load. Okay, so there's a process, there's a way that we establish a rate, and of course, not only establish rate, but once we establish that rate, then we want to take it and sell it to a truck. So first of all, we're just talking about right now establishing a rate, and we're not going to go into an all-out formula as to how to establish a rate. We're going to deal with a basic approach here. Okay, so let's take a look at that, how we would do that. Now, remember, we said earlier that first of all, now we're talking to our shipper. He wants a bid on a particular lane. Let's say he wants a bid on a lane that goes from Green Bay, Wisconsin to Marshville, North Carolina. So in order to give him a bid, we got to come up with a starting point. What type of price are we going to give him? What are we going to base that price on? So that's why we would come into our load board to kind of get an idea of what prices are in that particular lane. Okay, so in order to do that, we want to go to our rate mate. If you see here across the top, you have something up here called My Products, and I'm going to go into My Products and see what we have available there. You see it says Load Tracking Rate Mate Oversized Rates. We're going to go to Rate Mate because we're trying to establish a rate in a particular lane. Okay, so let's just say we're going from Green Bay, Wisconsin to Marshville, North Carolina. And we're going to see equipment type over here, and we're going to click the drop down arrow, and it's going to give us the option of refrigerator. Then we have another button here after we've already gotten our origin, city and state, our destination city and state, and the type of equipment that we're going to be using. We're going to click Find Rates. Okay, now when we click Find Rates, it's going to come up and show us what the rate is in that particular lane, or the average rate, the median rate. Now, anytime we're dealing with average or median rates, that means there are a number of loads that move in that particular lane for higher than this cost, and there are a number that move lower than this cost. So we cannot depend solely on this when we are establishing a rate, but it's going to give us a starting point. Okay, so as you can see here, it shows me in this particular lane, Green Bay, Wisconsin to Marshville, North Carolina, last 7 days, 15 days, 30 days, so forth and so on. Okay, so I would take a look at this in order to have a starting point when it comes to establishing my rate. You can look over here. It also is going to give you some rate index, rate trending, the fuel cost, show you what your fuel surcharge is, and all of that good stuff. But we're going to stick with the basics here, and it shows us for the last 7 days, average total rate is three grand. Okay, that's at 936 miles, so that's about $3 per mile. Average rate to truck, $3.27 a mile. Average rate to shipper, $3.99 a mile. So basically what we're saying here is showing that the average rate to the shipper is $4,000. Okay. Now, of course, if you just use what the average rate to the shipper is, we're talking average. So if you go back to your shipper at $4,000, it's very likely you may not get that load. So you want to do more intense research than just looking at what the average costs are in those lanes. You want to know what it is that you can move that load for, and the best way to do that is to talk to trucks. Although this is a good start. This is called Rate Mate, and it's going to give you an idea of what that particular lane is going for. In this case, it says the average rate to the shipper is $3.99, average rate to the truck is $3.27. Okay, let's contrast that. Let's look over in DAT and see what kind of rate is posted in DAT. How do we do that? Okay, remember, we are simply trying to gather a rate now. So we're going to go up here at the top, just like we did on Truckstop, and see what we have up here. Home, post, search, alarms, tools. We're going to go into tools because what we're looking for is to find out what that particular lane is costing on average to get it moved. So we have a market rates here. So we're going to click on market rates because, again, we're trying to establish a rate for that particular lane. Now, when we establish that rate, then we'll go back to our shipper with the cost. Okay, so it says equipment type. Again, we're looking for reefers. Origin, we're going to say Marshville, North Carolina. And we're going to go to, we're going to go to cut. We're going to put that in destination because that's where we're going, and we're going to go from Green Bay, Wisconsin. So we're going to start off, origin is Green Bay, going to Marshville, North Carolina, and it's a reefer. We're going to click search. Now, when we click search, it is going to come up and show us what the average cost is in that particular lane. And in this case, it breaks it down. It gives us the average line haul rate, then it comes and show us what the fuel surcharge is, and then it gives us a total rate. So the total rate in this particular lane is going to be $3.15 according to DAT. Okay, so now we have something to work with. We have something to contrast. We got $3.15 per mile at 1,000 miles in DAT, and we have $3.99 a mile to the shipper. Now, if you over here, this $3.15 is to the carrier. Let me show you how that goes. I use van there. Let's knock that out of there. We're not dealing with a van. Let's go with reefers. Okay. As you can see, vans are going to cost less than reefers. Reefers require fuel for the truck and fuel for the reefer. So it's a different rate. So $3.15 to the truck in this particular instance is what DAT is saying. So at the very least, now we have a starting point to come up with a rate to go back to your shipper with. Okay, so you're going to have to do some calling around to your carriers to find out how true those numbers are. They may be close, they could be a little bit far off, or they might be something that you can work with. But a lot of times you have to remember that's an average rate. So many trucks are going to be higher than that, so many trucks are going to be lower than that. So that's simply a starting point. So that's basic function number one, establishing a freight rate. You want to use a load board to get some idea of what loads have been moving for in that lane. And that'll help you establish a rate going back to your shipper. Again, you cannot just depend solely on that because it's only a median or average rate. So that's basic function number one. Now that we have a price for that particular lane, we would take that price back to the shipper. The shipper gives you authority to move that particular load. Okay, so now what you want to do is you have that load. Now it's time to sell that load to a carrier. What you want to do is go into posting because you're going to want to post a load so that your carriers can see it and call you and start to negotiate on it. Okay, same thing in truck stop, but we're going to deal with DAT first. So across the top here, I want to get the highlighter, make sure you can see it. Home, post, search. We're going to deal with posting now because we're posting a load onto the load board so that carriers can see it and call to negotiate. Okay, so let's deal with that same lane. Picking up today, it's a reefer trailer. It's going to pick up in Green Bay, Wisconsin. It's going to go to Marshville, North Carolina. We're looking for, it's a full truck, 53-foot trailer, and 40,000 pounds with one load. Now, if you see here, you have the option of putting in a rate. I would suggest putting in a rate because usually you're going to get more calls on loads that you put rates in, especially if it's a tight capacity lane. You're going to want to put in a price, in my experience, because you're going to get more calls on it. No price, it's slower about calling, especially when it's tight capacity. Again, you have the comments here, and you can put a comment here. I would usually put in the comment section special requirements, or if there is temperature, let's say a temperature of -10, I'll just put temperature -10. Because some trucks cannot get down to -10. So you don't want trucks calling you that can't even get to -10 as far as the temp is concerned. So if you wanted to put a reference number, you can put a reference number. You might have 15 or 20 loads, and the trucker will call you and say, hey, I'm calling about reference number 100. And you'll look at your sheet, you'll see 100 is your Green Bay to Marshville, North Carolina lane. Okay, so we have all of that information in. Now we would simply click post, and we would post that load to the database so that your carriers can see it. You also have the option of here how many days you want to post for. You can post 1, 2, 3 days. We'll just put it for 1 day for right now, and we're going to say post. Now when we post that load, once it loads and processes, then carriers can see that this load is available. If you look down here, now that load is posted. It shows how long it's been posted. Of course, we just posted, so it doesn't have a time yet. It's 0. Picking up in Green Bay, dropping off in Marshville, North Carolina on the 16th of October. Reefer type, the type of trailer is a reefer. Full load, 53-foot, 40,000 pounds, and it's posted now. It has a status of posted, okay? But we're gonna take that off because we don't wanna start receiving calls on that load, so that is how you post a load. We're gonna delete that. So when you post that load, now that your carriers can see it, they're gonna start to call you to negotiate on that particular load, okay? Now, another thing that we wanna look at, we've just talked about going in and looking at the rates in that particular lane to help us establish a rate back to our shipper. We came up with a rate that we went back to the shipper with. Now we're going to talk about, we just talked about posting that load so that our carriers can see it. And now I want to talk to you about trucks in that particular lane. And we would do this first if we were actually doing this real time to establish what type of capacity in that lane. But this is a third function that we're going to talk about, understanding what type of capacity you have in that lane. And we want to do truck searches to know that. So if you come up here, you'll see search, and I'll get this to make sure you can see it. You'll see search here. We're going to click on search to establish what kind of trucks we have in that lane. Okay, we go over here and we see trucks. I'm going to click the same information. It's a reefer. It's going from Green Bay to Marshville. Notice here it says 100 radius. That simply means that within 100 miles of your pickup point. You don't want to go outside of that because many trucks don't want to travel over 100 miles to pick up a load, because then, just depending on the load, how much money in it, it may not be worth traveling that far. When you start looking at what kind of fuel you're spending to go and pick up that load. So usually about a 100-mile radius is what trucks are willing to do. So we put 100 miles. So now what this is going to do when I click search over here is it's going to show me all of the lanes, all of the trucks that are in that particular lane. Now, the more trucks that are available in that lane, the better chance I have of selling that particular lane at the price that I want to sell it at. Because if you have tight capacity, trucks have the power. So we want to look at that. Let's go in here in this lane and look at what type of capacity are we dealing with. And we're going to do it from today to tomorrow, 1016 to 1017. Click search. And it's going to show up and come up and show us what we have to choose from in that lane in DAT. And as you can see here, we don't have very many options. So that means that the truck is going to have the power when it comes to negotiating in this lane, because he knows, just like you know, that you don't have a lot of options when it comes to trucks. So the price goes up. As you can see here, it says in this particular market is showing 286 is about average to the truck. Okay, on your broker spot rate. Reefer Green Bay to Charlotte, $2.86. Okay, now with that said, I come down and look here and I say, okay, well, I don't have many trucks to choose from, so that $2.86 is more than likely out of the window, because truckers know that you don't have very many options, so the price is going to go up. Okay, so be mindful of that when you're establishing a rate. One of the first things that you want to check is what type of capacity do you have available, because it's going to affect your rate. Okay, so what we have talked about so far is we've talked about posting loads, we've talked about searching for trucks, and we have talked about establishing a rate. Those are the three basic functions of a load board. Many times you hear freight brokers, new freight brokers saying, hey, I'll go on a load board to find loads. Well, yeah, you can do that, but we first must understand that most of the loads that are posted here are posted by brokers. So as a broker, I wouldn't want to go on a load board to get a load. I go straight to the shipper. Because if you go to a broker, then of course, the price has already been stepped on. The broker put it there, so his commission has already been taken from that price. So I don't want to go to a broker. I want to go to a shipper direct. Because I am a broker. You are a broker, so don't go to a broker to get loads. As a broker, you go to a shipper. Okay? So load boards are used for posting your loads, searching for trucks, establishing freight rates. We can do that in Truck Stop as well. We'll go through one and show you how it would work in Truck Stop. Posting loads the same way. We'll post a load from point A to point B, and simply over here, if you see, I'll get the spotlight. If you go to posting, you just click on posting here and you would post that load just like we did in DAT. And we'll give you a quick scenario here. Posting loads, you click on loads and you'll post this load to Internet Truck Stop. And when you post that load, of course, all of the truckers that are subscribed to Internet Truck Stop will see this load when it posts in this particular lane. Okay, so let's say we're gonna go to new post here and we're gonna post this load just like we did on DAT. All right, it's taking a minute to load here, but as soon as it loads up, we'll plug that information in and we'll show the difference in posting on Truck Stop and DAT. Okay, Internet Truck Stop can be a little bit slow, but it'll pop up here very shortly. And we'll go through and show you how you post this load. So remember, this is a single load posting. You can do single load postings and multiple load postings on Internet Truck Stop. So we'll do a single load posting. We're going from Green Bay, Wisconsin, to Marshville, North Carolina. If we had the zip codes, we could just plug the zip codes in instead of the city and state. Here we're going to use the trailer type of, the reefer. And we're going to go down here and put in, let's just say we put in a rate of $2,500 for that particular lane. Weight is 40,000 pounds. Pickup date, we'll call the pickup date today. You just click on that calendar there and your pickup date will pop open. 10/16. It's going to pick up at 0800. And delivery date of 2 days later, because we're dealing with 1,000 miles from Green Bay, Wisconsin to Marshville, North Carolina. So we'll have a 2-day transit time. So we're going to pick up at 8 o'clock on the 16th and deliver on the 18th at 8:08 in the morning. You can put the distance, you can put the miles here. That's usually on the truck. He knows what the distance is, or if he doesn't, he'll figure that out. And all of this other information, you can put this information in if you have it. It is not necessarily required. You can put in what it is that you want. If you got any special information, special requirements, you can put it in. I usually put temp and any other special information I have. In this case, we'll just use the temperature, -10. And down here, we can post and close or simply post. Okay, so I'm just gonna post that so that you can see how it looks when it posts. Your post has been added, so I'm gonna click out that so we can go over here and see it, what it looks like when we post it. We're gonna go over here to posted loads, and this will allow for us to see what load has actually been posted, what we have available. So once this loads up, it's gonna come down and show us a load that is gonna go from Green Bay, Wisconsin to Marshville, North Carolina, and it's gonna have a rate in there, pickup date, all of the details on that load. Cell is refrigerated. Now a carrier can see that load and call us to discuss the details. I'm gonna click there and remove that particular load out of there so we don't get any calls. But those are the 3 basic ways that we use load boards: posting loads, obtaining a rate, and of course searching for trucks. Those are the 3 basic ways that I, as a freight broker, use load boards. Again, you hear people talking about using load boards to go and get loads. To me, that is more so for trucks, because normally, most times, brokers put the loads on these load boards. So we don't want to, as a broker, go to a broker for a load. So you're going to go direct to shippers. And a lot of times shippers are not on load boards posting loads. They use brokers to do that. So we want to go direct to the shipper instead of going to a load board for a load, because that's not going to be in your best interest as a broker to go to another broker for a load. That's what we have to share with you today when it comes down to being able to use your load board, getting the most out of your load board. Those are the 3 basic functions. And again, when we're talking establishing rates, we're not going to use just what Internet Truck Stop says or DAT says when it comes to rate. We're going to have to be a little bit more creative. We're going to have to talk to trucks to figure out exactly what you can get that load moved for, because simply that's an average or median rate that we come up with when we use these RateMate products. So I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for your time. If you are interested in the freight broker industry, you are looking to come on as an agent with an established freight broker, certainly we would be interested in talking with you if that's something that you want to do. Give us a call, 470-427-2711, extension 101, or go to our website, www.training.alliancelogistics.net. Again, that's www.training.alliancelogistics.net, training.alliancelogistics.net. If you have any questions, you want to talk about how you want to approach the industry, we can definitely set up an appointment and talk about what it is that you want to do, where you are in your business, what you want to do as far as training, how you see your business moving forward, and how we can assist you with doing so. So again, thank you so much for viewing the video. If this has been helpful, click the like button and share it with your network. Certainly would appreciate it. And we want to thank you again for spending some time with us today. Have a great day. Have an even better tomorrow. Thank you.